So in this video, we're going to discuss autosomal dominant disorders or diseases. So first of all, let's review what the name itself means. So autosomal means the condition or the disease or the disorder is caused by a gene that is found on one of the autosomes. So it's a disease or a disorder or a condition that's due to a gene found on chromosome 1 through 22. So basically just not on one of the sex chromosomes. So a condition that's caused by a gene on chromosome 7 would be autosomal. Or a condition that's caused by a gene on chromosome 19 would be autosomal. And then, so these are autosomal diseases. And then the dominant part of the name here, this is referring to the fact that the allele that causes the condition shows a dominant pattern of expression. So what that means is that if we look at the genotypes of these two individuals in this little pedigree here, and we're going to say the gene we're looking at is the D gene, the letter D, it could be for whatever condition this is. Because the disease is caused by the dominant version of the gene or the dominant allele, this individual here, the male shown here, he has a big D, so that's the allele that causes the disease, and he has a little d, which is the normal allele. So he is heterozygous, big D, little d, but he has the disease, this is why he's said affected. So this person here is suffering from the disease, whatever it is. Okay, the mother, on the other hand, over here on the pedigree, she's homozygous recessive, 2 little d's, and that means she is normal for this condition. So if it's the D gene, D, uppercase D is the disease allele. This allele causes the disease, and lowercase d is the normal allele. All right. So looking at the pedigree once again, we can see a normal individual, 2 little d's, and we can see an affected individual. This person's heterozygous, big D, little d. And so if these, on the right side here, we can see the Punnett square for this pedigree. And the mom is at the top, so her 2 little d's are showing up here and here. And then the dad is down the side, so his big D, little d is showing up here and here. And when we do the cross, you can see this is how the offspring end up. Okay, and so this individual here is going to have the disease, and this individual here is going to have the disease because they got a big D from their father. And then the 2 individuals at the bottom here, they do not have the disease. They got a little d from the mom and a little d from the dad, so they're 2 little d's, both normal alleles, they will not have the disease. So a couple of things to note about diseases that are caused by dominant alleles. The first thing, which is interesting to think about, is that, or not to think about, but just the fact that in this situation, the recessive allele is the normal, healthy, wild type situation in genetics, which we tend to think of recessive as being like, well, it's all the words are all tied up in our head with something that's weaker or not working right or whatever. Well, in this case, that's completely not true. The lowercase d is the correct or the functional version of the gene. So 2 little d's is normal. And then there's a couple of notes here at the bottom of the slide that highlight that, number 1, there are no carriers for autosomal dominant disorders. You cannot carry the allele. So carriers are normally people that have the allele but do not exhibit the disease, right? And but for dominant disorders, you can't carry the allele and not have the disease because the allele is dominant. So if you've got the allele, you're going to have the disease, right? So there are no carriers for dominant disorders, and a normal healthy person is homozygous recessive. Okay, so there are a couple of examples of autosomal dominant disorders. So, and those ones are, there are multiple, but the couple we're going to talk about in class are achondroplasia, which sounds like it is a very long name. This is actually a disease you've heard of. This is little people with really short stature, like Peter Dinklage in Game of Thrones, the actor. He's a little person. He has achondroplasia. This is a dominantly inherited, it's a disorder that's inherited in a dominant pattern. And then another dominant disorder is Huntington's disease. Huntington's. This is a fatal progressive neurodegeneration. It kind of causes a shaking and a dementia, Huntington's disease, and it's inherited in a dominant manner. And we'll talk more about these two diseases specifically in class, but these are inherited in an autosomal dominant pattern.